The turbolift descended into the heart of the Republic's power, its silence thicker and more tense than any battlefield. Mace Windu's hand rested on his lightsaber hilt. Kit Fisto offered a grim, aquatic smile. Saesee Tiin and Aegon Kolar stood like statues, their minds already in the coming fight. Obi-Wan's face was a mask of focused determination, while Qui-Gon's was serene, trusting in the living force. And then there was Anakin. To them, he was a Padawan, a prodigy pushed to his limit, his prescient fears finally vindicated. But within, the soul of Darth Vader was calm. This was not a moment of fear. It was the culmination of a decades-long campaign. He was walking into the office of his former master, not as an apprentice, but as the architect of his ruin. The doors to the Chancellor's office hissed open. The room was vast, opulent, and bathed in the setting sun of Coruscant. Behind his desk, Chancellor Palpatine looked up from his work, a picture of paternal concern. "Master Windu," he said, his voice dripping with false warmth. "To what do I owe this unexpected visit? And with so many of you, is there a crisis?" Mace Windu stepped forward, his voice devoid of diplomacy. "We are here to arrest you, Chancellor, under the authority of the Jedi Council." Palpatine's face morphed into a perfect Biao Yan of shocked indignation. "Arrest me? On what charge?" "The charge of treason against the Republic," Windu stated, "and of being a Sith Lord." The performance was masterful. Palpatine slumped back in his chair, a frail old man wronged by overzealous protectors. "This is madness. What proof could you possibly have? This is a plot by the Separatists to discredit me." It was then that Anakin stepped from behind the group. He did not speak. He simply looked at Palpatine, and for the first time, he did not hide what was in his eyes. He let the Chancellor see the abyss. He let him see the knowledge of 1,000 betrayals, of a future of fire and pain that they had built together. Palpatine's act faltered for a microsecond. His eyes, for a flicker, showed not confusion, but recognition. Then calculation. The boy, the Ghost General, the source of all the frustrating, inexplicable counter-moves. It had been him. The Sith Lord's face collapsed into a mask of grotesque malice. The benevolent politician was gone, replaced by a creature of pure hatred. "Then you will all die," he hissed, and his form seemed to blur. In a motion faster than light, a cylinder flew from his sleeve into his hand, and a blade of the purest, most violent crimson energy erupted, humming with a sound that promised pain. The Jedi ignited their sabers as one. The room flashed blue and green against the overwhelming red. "He's too dangerous to be taken alive," Windu shouted, and the fight was joined. It was a whirlwind of death. Palpatine moved not like an old man, but like a demon, a vortex of spinning red energy. He was a blur, using the Force to hurl his entire desk, to shatter transparisteel windows, to turn his office into a lethal obstacle course. Aegon Kolar died first. A feint, a lightning-fast thrust, and the red blade took him through the heart before he could even raise his saber to parry. Saesee Tiin fell next, his head cleanly severed as he tried to flank the Sith Lord. Kit Fisto lasted 3 more passes, his elegant Form A dance against a tsunami, before a vicious reverse strike found an opening and cut him down. In seconds, only Mace Windu, Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and Anakin remained. They formed a circle around the Sith Lord, their styles complementing each other. Windu's crushing Varpad pressed the attack, channeling Sidious's own darkness back at him. Obi-Wan's impeccable Soresu was an unbreakable shield. Qui-Gon's aggressive Ataru provided fluid, unpredictable strikes. And Anakin did not use a traditional form. He used something else entirely. He was never where Palpatine expected. He didn't block, he redirected. He didn't attack, he interrupted. He was a ghost in the machine of the fight, a flaw in Palpatine's rhythm. He would use a tiny, precise force push to tilt a piece of debris just enough to ruin the Sith's footing. He would feint a move that Obi-Wan had used against him on Mustafar, causing a split second of hesitation in the Sith Lord, who had never seen it. Palpatine was being pressed. The four of them together, with Anakin's prescient interference, were a problem he had not anticipated. His rage grew. With a scream of fury, he unleashed his true power. Forked lightning, blue and evil, erupted from his fingertips, not at the Jedi, but at the ceiling above them. The entire ornate structure groaned and collapsed. Tons of durasteel and permacrete crashing down, forcing the Jedi to scatter, to use the Force to shield themselves. The perfect circle was broken. Palpatine seized the opportunity. He focused his assault on Qui-Gon Jinn, the heart of this resilient group. He drove him back toward the shattered window frame, lightning forcing the older Jedi to hold his ground, his saber straining to absorb the incredible energy. "You were a disappointment, Qui-Gon," Palpatine shrieked. "A philosophical relic. You should have died on Naboo." Anakin saw it happen. He saw the exact move Sidious would use, a quick, savage lightsaber thrust under the guard of a Jedi distracted by lightning. The move that had killed him the first time. But Anakin was not across the room. He was already moving. He didn't yell a warning. He didn't try to block the lightning. He simply lunged, not at Sidious, but at Qui-Gon, tackling him to the ground as the Sith's killing thrust meant for Qui-Gon's heart instead sliced through empty air. The two of them tumbled, and in that moment, Palpatine saw his opening. He turned his lightning on the vulnerable, fallen Jedi. It was Obi-Wan who intervened, leaping forward, his saber a blur, taking the brunt of the blast to protect his master and friend. The force of it threw him back, slamming him against a wall, his lightsaber clattering from his stunned grip. Now, it was only Mace Windu and Anakin standing between the Sith Lord and victory. "You have lost, Sidious," Windu growled, his purple blade holding back the torrent of lightning. "Have I?" the Sith Lord screamed, his face deforming further into a monstrous mask. "You have played your last pawns. The boy cannot help you. He knows his place." It was then that Palpatine made his final desperate play. As Mace Windu began to slowly push the lightning back toward him, Palpatine let his expression shift. The monster was replaced by a terrified, weak old man. "Please, don't kill me! I surrender! I surrender!" he cried, his voice pitiful. He let the lightning fade, cowering behind his desk. "Mercy! I beg you, Lord Windu, for the Republic!" Mace Windu stood over him, his blade poised for the kill. "The Senate will decide your fate." "I am the Senate!" the creature snarled, before collapsing back into whimpering pleas. "No, no, please, don't..." And then he looked past Windu, directly at Anakin. His eyes held not a threat, but a promise. The same promise he had made on the night of the opera. "Anakin, please, you must help me. Only together can we save Padme. I feel it. Her life is fading. She will die, child, and only I can teach you the power to stop it." The words were a key turning in the lock of Anakin's deepest fear, the fear that had defined his life, the fear that had made him a monster. For a heart-stopping second, the ghost of Darth Vader stirred. The old instinct, the desperate need for control, surged within him. His hand tightened on his lightsaber. Mace Windu sensed the shift. "Anakin, stay back. He is too dangerous." The moment of choice had arrived, the same choice on a different day. The fate of the galaxy hung on a single decision. Anakin Skywalker looked at the cowering form of the Sith Lord. He saw not a chance for power, but the architect of his nightmare. He saw the man who had lied to him, who had manipulated him into burning in a lava river, who had forced him to choke the woman he loved. He saw the man who had stolen his life. The fear for Padme was a fire in his veins. But the memory of her death was a colder, more powerful truth. Trusting Sidious had killed her. Defying him was the only chance to save her. He looked at Mace Windu and gave a single, slow nod. "Do it," Anakin said, his voice cold and clear. The plea on Palpatine's face vanished, replaced by pure, undiluted hatred. As Mace Windu brought his blade down, the Sith Lord erupted. A final cataclysmic wave of Force energy, mixed with lightning, exploded outwards, throwing Windu back. But Anakin was ready. He had felt the build-up of power. As the wave hit, he didn't try to resist it. He absorbed it, channeled it, and redirected it straight back at its source, a technique he had learned from his own dark past. The reflected energy struck Palpatine full force. He screamed, not a cry of power, but of agony and utter shock. The dark side energy he had summoned rebounded on him, consuming him. His body convulsed, his features melting and twisting under the feedback of his own hatred. He collapsed to the floor, not dead, but broken. His connection to the Force seared away, his body a withered, powerless husk. The silence that followed was deafening. Smoke rose from the Sith Lord's body. Mace Windu climbed to his feet, staring in disbelief at the defeated figure. Obi-Wan stirred, groaning as he recovered. Qui-Gon rushed to his side. Anakin stood amidst the ruins of the office, the setting sun casting his long shadow across the room. He deactivated his lightsaber. The deed was done. The Clone Wars ended not with a command, but with the capture of its puppet master. The droid armies shut down. The separatist leadership, left without its guiding hand, quickly surrendered. The conflict was over. The aftermath was a political and philosophical earthquake. The Republic was saved from tyranny, but the Jedi Order was forever changed. The revelation that the Chancellor was a Sith Lord, combined with the discovery of the inhibitor chips in the clone troopers, shattered the public's trust in its institutions. The Jedi, led by the trio of Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and the now legendary Anakin Skywalker, undertook a radical reformation. They abolished the rule against attachments, recognizing that love, not detachment, was the true fortress against fear. They dissolved their role as generals, returning to their ancient paths as peacekeepers and guardians. Anakin Skywalker, the hero who had seen the darkness and steered the galaxy away from it, was offered a seat on the Council and the rank of Jedi Master. He declined both. He walked away from the temple, not as a Jedi, but as a free man. He found Padme Amidala in her apartment, watching the news of the coup unfold. She turned as he entered, her eyes wide with the shock of the day's events. He didn't speak. He simply walked to her, and for the first time, he took her hands in his without fear, without guilt, without a secret between them. "It's over," he said, his voice soft, the weight of a lifetime finally lifting from his shoulders. "The future. It's ours now." He had been Darth Vader. He had been the chosen one. He had been a slave, a hero, a monster, and a savior. But as he held his wife, thinking of the children they would now raise in a galaxy at peace, he was finally, simply, Anakin. The Force had not sent him back to fulfill a prophecy. It had sent him back to break it. And in doing so, he had found not balance, but something far more precious. A second chance.